Hey everybody, this is Retro Gaming Ninja. Coming back tonight with another teardown of a system I got off of eBay. This is a Model 1 original Sega Genesis. This is the model MK1601. It does have the high definition graphics on the top of the unit, as well as the expansion port on the back. This expansion port on the back was never used. This unit here is missing a expansion port cover for the connector to the Sega CD. So what we're going to do, we're going to open it up, we're going to tear it down. This thing is very, very dirty. I don't know if you can see some of the grime on there. We're going to look at this on-off button. It is extremely mushy and it does not click into place. And this is also pretty tight for the slide bar for the headphones. We're going to do a little bit of cleaning up on it, and basically we're going to take the shell off of it, tear it down to the circuit board, and we're going to give it a good cleaning, scrubbing. We'll clean the circuit board, look at the caps on there. We'll use some alcohol on that to make sure we get all the grime and grit off of it. Something about this unit is that one of the cool things is when it boots up, it doesn't show the license screen that you see every time you boot up a Model 2 Sega Genesis, or even the revised version of the Model 1. This unit actually has two 9-pin style connectors for the control ports on the front. This is very similar to the Atari 2600, and it does support stereo out, but only through the headphone jack. The actual AV out is only a mono audio. So if you want stereo, you have to get a AV out cable that has a splitter that allows you to run a cable all the way to the front to plug into your headphones. Now I've taken the screws out of this guy already because I didn't want to put you guys through the torture of watching me unscrew all the screws from the base of it. I did leave a few screws on the circuit board that are important that we're going to talk about. There's one that's kind of hidden. There's a tab that we're going to deal with, and then there's one that they actually put on there that has kind of like Loctite on it that holds that down. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is, once you take your screws out of the back of the Sega Genesis, on the back here, you should have 6 screws. 3 top, 3 on the bottom. Now this is a 1601, as I said. I don't know if you guys can see that real well. See if we can get zoomed in for you. But this is the 1601 model. It does use a 9-volt DC power adapter, which I have one of those as well. Alright, so like I said, I've already taken the screws out, trying to save you guys a little bit of pain and torture. Now, one of the things you want to remember when you take the top off this guy is don't rip it off. There is a connector that runs from this LED down to the motherboard. And if you pull up on that thing real hard, you're going to tear that cable. So when we open it up, just flip that top lid right over. Okay? And as you'll see, here's that connector I was talking about that runs all the way down. You're not going to be able to unplug it down here. You're actually going to have to do some work up here on the top. So let's zoom in a little bit and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright. So what you're going to have to do, you see those two, you see this metal here, this LED metal here, and this line here. We're actually going to bend those up. Make them straight. Okay? Now what this is going to do for you, see I made them straight? What this will allow you to do is actually pull that connector, that white connector, off. Takes a little bit of work there because you got to straighten them up as you go, and then you can just pull that white connector right off like so, and then you have your LED lead still sitting there, and we'll put that back on. Now, one of the things we're going to look at real quick is that power button. And why is it so sticky? Well, it's not really sticky, but if you look, when I push it over, do you see that? The plastic here, right here, has actually become detached and broken. So we'll end up gluing this back down here and making sure that it's nice and secure. And we'll actually clean this slide up a little bit. Now that I have this case apart, what we're going to do is we'll end up taking off the cartridge slot here. Now you have to be careful with this cartridge slot because it has two flaps on the front where the cartridge goes in, and there are springs in here, and if you're not careful, those springs will pop off. Now, one interesting thing about this unit, I don't know if you can see, let me zoom in and I'll give you a better idea. This unit, you can actually modify it to play Mega Drive games simply by taking out that corner on both sides. So you'll see it, right? Kind of hard to see on this side. But that little notch right there and right there, if you take and file that off real nice and round it, a Mega Drive game will actually fit into this unit. So as you can see, very, very dirty. So what we're going to do with this guy is we're going to take it, we're going to go soak it with some warm, mild soap and water, scrub him up, get him clean, and let him dry. Alright. Let's move on to our shielding. Now there are going to be tons of screws around this guy. Here, 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 here. Lots and lots of screws around this RF shielding. So we're going to take our little R2D2 here, and I'm just going to pop out the remainder of these screws that I put back in for you guys. If I had the right tip. So let me grab the right tip real quick, and then we'll get that done. Alright. Not real sure if I can do it with one of my small ones here. Let's see if this one will get it. Alright, that'll get it. I had some comments on my last video about these magnetic screwdrivers. You don't have to use these magnetic screwdrivers. They're not really going to cause any damage because I'm not poking around any of the memory or anything with them. And really, honestly, truly, the magnetic on here is not strong enough to do anything. This guy over here, though, is a magnet. And I keep all of my screws on that. That way I don't lose them. As you can tell, I've taken out quite a few screws already. Sitting right over there. Okay. Now this screw here on top is normally got a green gel on it, some kind of Loctite, and will become very difficult to actually take off. So you're going to have to put a little pressure on it and unscrew it because of the green Loctite. Alright. So that was one of the screws I want to talk about. The other screw that you want to be aware of is in the front here. It's going to be underneath the actual headphone jack. So this headphone jack will lift up here in just a minute, and we're going to use, there's a screw under here that helps us take that off. Now on the RF shielding, after you get all your screws out, there's a tab right here. Okay, this tab, just bend it back, or bend it up straight, whatever you want to say, like this. Then you're going to be able to actually take the remainder, after you get the screws off, the remainder of the RF shielding off. RF shielding actually looks to be in pretty good condition, but we'll still wipe it down and get some of the dust off of it. Now we're looking at the actual motherboard. One of the things I noticed when I took this apart is these caps don't look original to me. But when I started looking at the soldering on them, they're actually soldered really well. So I'm thinking that they just look really good. And I haven't found any caps that look like they're swollen or leaking or bulging. So we're going to take the motherboard out. Now there's going to be 2 screws in your cartridge, right beside your cartridge slot, that you're going to have to take out. These I've already removed. A little bit of dust in here. There are going to be some more screws along the perimeter of the motherboard. Now let's look at the front here where I was talking about. This is the headphone jack. Now this guy here just lifts up, and you can push him out of the way, and underneath him is a hidden screw that you have to take out before you can get this motherboard out. And I'm hoping I got the right, yeah, I got the right screwdriver. There it comes. So that'll come right out. You'll have a couple screws on this plate here that you need to take out, and then the power plug or the adapter where the power goes in, you can just simply lift up, get it out of the way. Once you get all those out, you should be able to lift up from the front and then pull the motherboard out. So I usually lift up by this guy here and in the front. Lift up in the back. Sorry, lift up in the back and pull towards the back, because these ports here stick into these holes in the front, so you got to be real careful there. Now, with that out, that lets us actually see the entire motherboard. Now there are a couple things on here that are worth looking at. You have your this right here is your this chip here. If it'll focus for me tonight, come on, focus. This is a Zilog chip. This works in conjunction with the Yamaha 2650 FM synthesizer chip, and I'm sorry, this works in conjunction with the Motorola 68000 processor. This chip actually handles sub-processing and is mainly used to control sound hardware. This chip will also allows for backwards compatibility with the Sega Master System. Looking at this a little bit more, you have this is your Yamaha chip here. So that's going to be kind of hard to see because it's getting a reflection off of there, but see if I can get the light on it. So that's your Yamaha. That is your 2612 FM synthesizer. This provides you with stereo sound. I believe it has 6-channel stereo sound. We have some memory and some other things in here. We have our processor. So, but needless to say, we'll take this guy and we'll clean it up with some alcohol and get him all cleaned up, because you can see some of those traces look pretty dirty. But all in all, around the caps, I'm not seeing anything major, so we're looking good there. So we'll take this out, we'll get him cleaned up on the back side. Pretty much the same story, just needs a little bit of cleaning. I don't see any corrosion, I don't see any capacitors leaking there. So we'll get him cleaned up. Then our last piece is our bottom shielding. And with everything taken out, the bottom shielding just comes out. You can just simply take it out, and we'll clean that up with some alcohol as well. And then we have our bottom piece of our case. You'll find that there can be a lot of dust in this area here. None of my posts are broken, so everything looks really good. So we'll get that cleaned up as well, and then we'll start reassembling, and then we'll start doing some testing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here and get to cleaning. The next time you see the unit, we'll be reassembling it, putting all of our screws back in to the unit, and then we'll be hooking it up and giving it a test run to see if it actually powers on. I purchased this as is from eBay. The sellers basically told me that it didn't work, or he wasn't able to test it because he didn't have a power cord. Well, we have a power cord, and we have the audio video connector as well, so we'll be able to hook that up and test it out on the TV. Now this unit, you know, the great thing about the Sega Genesis was it was my first 16-bit system. I didn't get a Super Nintendo. I got one of these for Christmas, and it came with Sonic the Hedgehog. I played Sonic the Hedgehog pretty much for 2 days straight. Ended up beating the game within 48 hours of that Christmas of getting it, and didn't get another game. And I lived in a small town where we didn't really have a video store where we could rent games, so ended up playing Sonic for several more months, and really fell in love with the game, and fell in love with the system and the speed and the power of the system, graphics and colors. Compared to the Nintendo that I had, it was night and day. And then when I started getting the chance to get other games and rent other games, you know, running into Altered Beast and some of the more classic ones back in the day, fell in love with the Genesis. Genesis I definitely love. I love the Super Nintendo. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, but as far as 16-bit systems, this was my 16-bit system. This is the one I grew up with. You know, 512 colors with 64 of them on screen at once. It was just night and day compared to the Nintendo. The sound was amazing. Play those headphones in and just go to town playing Sonic in the dark with the sound off on the TV, and it's in stereo, and hearing that vibrant sound was just amazing. Alright guys, alright, well thanks for watching this real quick teardown. I'll get to cleaning this up. I'll show you the cleaned up versions of everything before we put it together, and then we'll put it together and we'll test this unit out. As always, thanks for watching. I'll be back with you guys soon to give you an update on the Model 1 Sega Genesis.